So Dom, I'm going to take it back for a minute. I'm going to bring you back, and I would love to know, do you remember the moment when you were like, all right, acting is 100% what I'm meant to do, and what attracted you to wanting to become an actor?
I just an attention seeker. I'm a massive attention seeker. That's probably like being the center of attention. Honestly, there probably is some truth to that. Like I always was like the loud, like brash kid. I think one of my teachers once, like on my school report, said the best analogy for Dom is that if everyone was sat at their table, Dom would be standing on it. I don't remember if that was a literal thing that I did or if that was just a metaphor for how I behaved. But I was very young when I knew I wanted to be an actor. It was before school. It was before anything really, like 5, 6 years old. I knew that performing was my future and what I wanted to do, and I just sort of pursued that with the blinders on throughout my life.
You know, I think it's through playing Jace in Shadowhunters that kind of really catapulted you to this level of fandom for so many. Shadowhunters means so much to so many people. So how did that opportunity for you come up, and what was that audition process like?
So it was, I mean, interestingly, sort of this catapulting theory, like each sort of step, like took me a little closer, you know, like, did little bits in the UK, and that got me to a slightly bigger agent, and then they got me some decent stuff. We got some stuff together, and then I did Vampire Academy through that, which sort of introduced me to the world of what a fandom could be, and then I moved on from there. And Taylor's video was another sort of little catapult, and then from there was, like you say, Shadowhunters and so on and so forth. And that audition process was one of those ones where it's like, it's not so much a thing now with streaming services and stuff, but there used to be a period of time in the year called pilot season, which is when all of the TV shows like try to get their cast locked in place for their season for the rest of the year. And it was right at the end of the pilot season, and I'd like met a few people for things, but nothing had worked out. And I remember in my head just being like, man, I need a job. Like, I really need a job. And then Shadowhunters fell in front of me, and I was like, not only is this a really cool project and a really cool character and something that I would love to be involved in, but sort of got myself in that mental place of like, I'm getting this one. Like, I need to get this one. I'm running out of money, so I'd like have no choice but to get this job.
When you walked on to that set the first day of filming, did you have any sort of feeling that this was going to be something pretty big with the fans, or were you kind of like, it's a job, let's see where it goes?
You do kind of know, especially because it was based on books, and the books were so successful. And then there was the iteration of the movie beforehand as well that was quite successful as well. So this is sort of the third attempt at telling this story. So it was a combination of excitement because I kind of felt that there was a lot of expectation around this project, and also a lot of anxiety for me because I don't want to mess it up. You know, there's so many people, especially with book characters, and you know, I said this before. When you read a book, no matter how descriptive you are about a character, each reader has a different image of what that character looks like. So
Right.
there's a way that you can please everyone. You know, the millions of people who love Jace from the books. There's just no way that because you know, no matter what I do, I'm going to look like me. So there's no way that I can match the physical depiction that different people had in their imagination of Jace. So, you know, all you can really do at that point is just trust in the writing and trust in the creative teams around you, from the actors to the producers to directors, and just hope, you know, you do your best and hope that people enjoy it. And, you know, still to this day, I hope that people did and do.
What is it about the series that attracted such fandom, do you think?
In my opinion, the great thing about it was the like plethora of diversity that we threw into it. Anything from you know, sexuality to relationships to working conditions to race. That, like, everything was kind of encapsulated, and we covered a lot of stories in kind of a magical, supernatural way that were actually grounded in the life of every day. So I think that was something that was really important when telling a story like this, that, you know, no matter how fantastical and supernatural we get, everything is really based in reality. And, you know, the writers, all of the credit goes to them for that, because the choices they made within the story are are all based in reality and real situations. And I think a big thing with something like this is to portray hope and happiness, no matter what your background or your creed or ethnicity or whatever it is. You know, there is, whatever the challenge is, it can be overcome sort of with unity and love and togetherness.
And I would imagine you must have a lot of great memories from that show, but does anything in particular really stand out to you when you look back at your time there?
You know, and it's such a cop out because it was the last thing we did, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, the last scene we ever shot was. So the way it worked out, completely by accident, because we knew when we went back in, we did 20 episodes in season 3, and then the show, the powers that be brought the show to an end, but we were very fortunate in that we were given 2 episodes to round out the entire show, which is it doesn't happen very often. We knew that at the end of that was going to be the end. We had the wrap party in the studio, you know, in this place that we'd all worked with each other for 4 years. It was really incredible. And the scene that we did, just completely by accident, happened to be the Magnus and Alec wedding, which not only was a very special scene for us to film, because we all, not only as actors and as cast members, but as fans ourselves of the show, we've been following this story the whole way through, with bated breath, hoping that they ended up together. Which, of course, you know, can you imagine if they ended up not doing? Like, it's terrible. But the really nice thing about that is because at the wedding we had all of the characters that we'd ever had throughout, even almost all the way back to season 1. You know, all of these people that we worked with, we were all together for this one sort of momentous moment, which was really lovely. You know, we got to all celebrate it together. And you know, I'll never forget Silic, our first AD, who, again, because this is the other thing, a lot of the crew members who've been with us since season 1 were all there as well. And Silic was our first AD all the way back since the beginning. And it was his job to say, and ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap on Shadowhunters. It was a really, like, bittersweet sort of profound moment. Not only is it over, which is really sad, but also, like, look at what we achieved. Like, look at what we did. It's a really special thing, and something that I will be proud of having been a part of for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it means so much to so many. And let me tell you, you guys put in the work. Like, the amount of emotions in one episode and the physicality of it in one episode, let alone the series. I mean, you guys hustled. You worked hard to create a beautiful show.
Yeah, you know, we did. We put our effort into it, of course. And again, you know, cool things. Sorry, my dog is right by my feet, and he wants attention, so he's like,
"Oh,
I'll be done soon, I promise." A good thing to remember with attitude on a set is it's never really laid out. I mean, it does sort of trickle down a little bit. You know, if the lead actor isn't professional or isn't, you know, the cheery person that they need to be, then that will trickle down and that'll affect everyone. But it also works its way up. You know, the crew, the attitude of the crew really does define what the attitude is on set. And we had just these, like, heroic Torontonian crew members from every and all department who worked, you know, remember that, like, hair, makeup, wardrobe is costume. I was going to say costume. So it's only been my job for 10 years. But like grips, set decks, production, directors, they all come in 2 hours before the actors and they don't leave 2 hours after us. And they don't have a plush little trailer to go to at lunchtime. You know, they grind and they work their absolute asses off. And for them to have a positive attitude at all times really does make the difference on set. So it would, you know, it's impossible for me to contemplate coming in and not putting in the same level of work that the team around me did, because they're so incredible.
Where would you have liked to see your character go next?
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation about what would have potentially happened, and I think over the course of doing interviews like this after the show has rounded itself out, I've kind of fine-tuned an answer. I think what would happen personally is the new sort of like group of Shadowhunters, because Alec is off with Magnus and is now the head of sort of the Shadowhunter world. He's our sort of king's the wrong word to use because Matt will take it to heart and I'll never hear the end of it, but like our leader. And I think then, because Jace by his own admission, is always a soldier. That's always what he's going to be. You know, when he got promoted to the head of the institute, he knew that that wasn't his place. That's not his piece of the puzzle, so to speak. So I think what would happen is Jace, Simon, Clary, and Isabel would be the four new sort of leads, like the alpha team of the Shadowhunters, and they would just sort of continue on, like slowly saving the world. Over the course of the show, it became very apparent very quickly that like there's always something. There's always something.
If you could play any other character on the show, who would you play?
Oh man, see, that's a tricky question because everyone does such a good job, and there's no way I would want to try and step into someone else's shoes and perform the way they perform, because I'd never do as good a job as them. But maybe I always jokingly say that Izzy would be the best one because she has the best costumes. But I think in reality, something like Valentine, like playing a bad guy, like with having moved on to sort of playing a quote unquote bad guy in Penny Dreadful, because he is a bad guy in Penny Dreadful, but also has little sort of weird layers to him. But I think something like Valentine would have been cool. Playing a bad guy is always good.
The last kind of question around Shadowhunters, and you mentioned this earlier, but the show touched on really important issues in this supernatural world. It made it very humanized, like race relations, like you said, sexuality. So as an actor, on this show, what did it mean to you to be part of those conversations that really, speak to so many young kids who are watching as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the number one thing that I learned through all kinds of facets, not least of which poor behavior on my part, which I'm sure a lot of people know what that is education is so key. We're seeing that more and more with everything that's going on currently and right now. Not knowing about something isn't necessarily ignorance. It's a chance for you to better yourself with the knowledge of a group of people or persons that you haven't had that direct experience of. There are many experiences that we covered in Shadowhunters that I didn't go through as a child. So it's a chance for you as a person to educate yourself and then be this sort of positive driving force in change. And I think that's what Shadowhunters tried to do so beautifully, is not only learn about the cultures around them, because we even had conversations that come down to sort of the nitty gritty of like Judaism and understanding why Simon wasn't allowed to do certain things, or like understanding why a tattoo was so important to Simon, why that was such a hot point for Simon because of his grandmother in the camps who was tattooed with a number, and it has that connection. So even just these things that a lot of people would just think, look, it's just a tattoo, don't worry about it, and then you have to learn a little more about that person's story to understand why there is a grievance there. So I think that's what Shadowhunters did 4 years, and I miss saying the titular name. So I think that's what they did so well, is understanding and learning and presenting informed stories that were, for the most part, for the benefit of the viewers and the world around.